Hello, I am Dr. Bernie McPherson, and today I'm going to be demonstrating the striking pattern from Estallilia Escrima. About 40 years ago, Professor Ramiro Estallilia came to Fresno and taught me this striking pattern. I couldn't find the striking pattern anywhere on YouTube, so I thought I would fill the gap and demonstrate the striking pattern. He actually taught me the striking pattern using a baston or a stick. I've been interested in learning more about cane striking techniques, so I'm going to modify this to cane striking techniques with a bit of explanation. First, I'm going to demonstrate and explain the techniques, then I'm going to move to where you're going to be standing behind me as the escrimador, quit talking so much, and demonstrate the techniques so you can actually use it as a training video. So here we go. A couple of caveats. When you're doing striking techniques, don't actually strike the bag. The folks at Century Everlast and Ringside are really going to love you because you're going to be ordering a new bag every week, because the pounds per square inch on the end of your stick or cane are very, very powerful. You're going to be punching holes in the bag. Not very good. The other thing is that you will see me moving my feet and moving my hands. My friend Damian Ross from the Self-Defense Training System at myselfdefensetraining.com tells me that you need to be taking ground. When I was in the Army Rangers, we moved forward on our opponents. But the bag doesn't move, so you will see me moving as though I am moving forward on the bag. So let's get started. I am honored to be in Southern California, right here, at the Red Dragon Shaolin Kung Fu School. The folks that train directly with Master Estallilia are still practicing up at Pacific Martial Arts on Herndon Avenue here in Fresno. The strikes begin with the hand coming up. Most people walk with the cane like this. The very fine folks at Cane Masters advocate turning the cane around because anatomically it just works better to come up and throw that thrust, use the thrust in this manner. Where does the thrust go? In the original Star Wars movie, Han and Luke are stuck in a garbage compactor. A monster shows up, and Luke said to Han, "Shoot it!" Han says, "Where?" Luke says, "Anywhere!" So where did the strike go? Face, throat, chest, solar plexus, abdomen, into the groin. If you're adept enough that you can actually hit the leg, you bet. Where does the strike go? It's a straight thrust. Where would you put a front kick or a punch? Straight thrust. The first technique, straight thrust. I'm going to be using the terminology that Remy Estallilia uses, and so straight thrust, this is under left, over left, under right, over right. Let me talk a little about that. Once again, where does the strike go? Anywhere. Over left can hit the head, the neck, the arm and shoulders, the ribs, the flank, the hip, the leg. If you can strike the knee, you can cripple someone with a good strike to the knee, strike to the calf. And if your timing is good enough that you can sweep their leg, there is a movement in judo called the ashibarai. Just before the foot steps down, sweep the foot, down they go onto the ground. You can use a cane, you can use a baston or short stick, you can use a longer implement like a bow staff or this, and that way you get a chance to practice sweeps. Sweeps. Oh, okay. Over left strike anywhere along the side, including sweeps. And then Master Estallilia has thrust, under left, over left, under right, over right. This strike, probably the most useful of the strikes, doesn't require much training. The Vikings of old conquered all of their enemies using a strike similar to this. A sword fighter requires some training. It has to be eloquent. It can take hours or years of sword fighting training for it to work. You have blocks, you have strikes, you have parries, you have riposte and counterattack. With a battle axe, just rain down on top of your enemy. Battle axe doesn't even have to be especially sharp. They could give a battle axe to illiterate Vikings and they conquered their then known world with this motion. A little bit of a caveat. Turn the handle to the side and come down, twisting at the last moment, because that torque adds a lot of power and strength to the strike. That torque comes. I'm going to explain in Shotokan Karate. Shout out to Greg Dow and his fine Shotokan school up in Monterey. When you get to the area of impact, torque, there's a turn that adds strength and power to the strike. Master Estallilia calls this the vertical strike. Doesn't have to be exactly vertical. Maybe off to the sides a little bit, the side of the head, the neck, fracture the collarbone. Straight thrust. Under left, over left. Under right, over right. Vertical strike, radical strike. This radical strike comes up right into ground zero. When I was in combat in the military, I wore a steel cup. Very glad I did that because any number of times took a strike in that area. Strike not only will cripple a man, but the women have some tender, delicate, sensitive tissues down there. My martial arts ladies that I trained with said, yeah, you can really hurt a woman striking into that area. God forbidding you're being attacked by a woman. It does happen. This is the radical strike. Master Estallilia calls this horizontal right, or hor right, hor left, or horizontal left. Again, where do you strike? Anywhere, somewhat similar to a baseball strike, into that area is going to be telling. After the horizontal strike, my hand stays like this. There is an over right thrust, middle right, lower right, and I use my hand to augment the cane. This adds to the accuracy of what you're doing. In Shotokan, we used to block like this. I augmented that from my ranger training and training with self-defense training system with Damian Ross to this strike. I'm guiding this and adding a little bit of power. With the cane, my hand back here adds a lot of power. I'm going to be guiding it with this hand. For even more power, if you have time, grab the cane or a baton, strike in that fashion. This next part requires a bit of eloquence. When you change hands, move this hand down. Do not let go and grab again. Combat is chaotic and unpredictable. If you let go of your cane, thinking you're going to re-grab, there is a chance your cane's going to be on the ground. Chaos is not clean like here in the dojo. It's a mess. I'm an Army Ranger. I've been there, combat deployed any number of times. Hand back here. Notice the elbow rising. This gives power to the strike. This gives you a little bit of guidance. Over right, middle right, under right, over left. When I was in the Army, we used an M16 rifle. A butt stroke will put your target on the ground. So, butt stroke right, butt stroke left. With an M16 rifle, you have a muscle and a lot of metal up here. That will hurt your opponent even worse. And there's a bayonet attached. Over right, butt, over right, over left butt, and then finally goring strikes. The goring strikes are best demonstrated with a stick. When I was training in Remy, Presas, Arnis, many of the students would use the butt end right down here, but Al Smith and Gary Fike taught me to give it a few inches, about the size of a hand. You can strike, you can maneuver, but this strike, again, pounds per square inch, over right gore, over left gore. Think of it as a movement from the psycho shower scene, hammer fist right on top of your opponent. I'm now going to move so that you can see the strikes from the Escrimador standpoint. You can train by looking over my shoulder, and you'll want to run the video back to this point over and over again. Dr. McPherson, how many times do I do this? Listen, if you want Bruce Lee results, you put in Bruce Lee training. How good do you want to be with this? Chuck Norris was an international, a world champion when he met Bruce Lee, and he tells a couple stories. He would go to Bruce Lee's house, they'd train together for 5 or 6 hours. They'd stop to go drink tea. Bruce Lee would drop down and do 100 sit-ups before he would drink his tea. Chuck Norris said that when they go to an elevator, Bruce Lee would drop and do push-ups until the elevator shows up. How good do you want to be? If you want Bruce Lee results, you put in Bruce Lee training. A lot less explanation. Here are the strikes demonstrated from the viewpoint of the Escrimador. Straight thrust, under left, over left, under right, over right. Vertical strike, radical strike. Horizontal right or hor right, horizontal left or hor left, straight over right thrust, middle, lower right thrust, over left thrust, butt stroke right, butt stroke left, goring strike right, goring strike left. Now I'm going to do them a bit closer to training speed without any explanation at all. You want to aim for being able to do this. Those were the strikes from Ramiro Estallilia's Escrima system. Go out and practice those, and now I'm going to practice some sweeps. You can end the video now.